a day I don't miss those rude interruptions, and I'll go sit on the floor wearing your clothes.
Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Welcome to the National Safe Child Show, addressing the health, welfare, and safety of all children nationwide, because it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Here are your hosts, Tammy Stefano and Priscilla Perez.
Today, we welcome you to our show. We have a fabulous guest who we're very excited to have with us, attorney Michael Kinslow. Michael, please say hello to the audience.
Well, hello, everyone.
And Priscilla, of course.
Hello, everyone.
Today we have a lot of very important issues that we're going to be discussing, that Michael has just been an expert in these areas. And we also want to let everybody know that Michael is available, and we'll give his contact information towards the end of the show. And we encourage you to reach out to him. He really is a fabulous attorney. We had Sean McMillan on, now we're having Michael, and we just feel honored that these attorneys are coming onto our show and really helping to spread the word. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I represent survivors. I represent survivors of childhood sexual abuse and people who are trying to make a difference in their lives,
Yes.
People who have endured some of the most horrific conduct from others. And it's just been a blessing to be able to do the work. And I just wanted to thank you for having me on today, and everybody from this network. It's just an amazing show and the good work that gets done at this network.
Thank you so much, Michael. And just so people do know a little bit more about your work, how long have you been, an attorney and in the child advocacy movement would be great, so they can know a little bit more about you and your work.
Sure. So I've been attorney licensed in California since about 2005. It was a little bit before then, as a law clerk, that I joined a firm that had a focus in childhood sexual abuse. But the issue goes back much further for me. In my life, there hasn't been a major institution that has not failed the children that were participants in it. You can start with my hometown church in Bristol, Pennsylvania, a place called St. Mark's, where just as I became an adult, 2 priests were assigned to our parish, where both had histories of childhood sexual abuse, one abusing girls, the other abusing boys. I spent some time at a private school where our faculty member unfortunately had a habit of giving young men ether and then abusing them sexually. So the issue has deep roots in my life, and I've just been fortunate to make my way to this work. When I went to law school, I thought I was going to end up suing healthcare corporations for special needs children, trying to get them access to care, which is still an issue that's dear to my heart. But this work came along, and it's just some of the most empowering work you can find. And it's really great to watch the person grow from victim to survivor. It's just a wonderful event.
We love Michael. We honor him and we love him. We have a caller. We have several callers, but can we take one caller and then I want to continue? Hi, caller.
Hi, caller.
Hello.
Caller? Uh-oh, did we lose him?
Check another one.
Her?
Okay. Hi, do we have a caller on the air?
Yes.
Hi, caller. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Palmdale, California.
Oh, hi. How are you?
How are you?
Hi.
Hi, what can we do for you today? What are you calling in to say?
Well, I was calling to talk about how the court system has treated me and my children. And I just wanted to say that without my consent, they took my son right out of a courtroom with the clothes he was wearing, and I didn't sign any paperwork okaying this. And they took him to with 2 armed people out of state on an airplane, and he ended up being sent to 3 different states in that 1 year. And when he came back, he wasn't quite the same kid.
Under what terms was he removed from your custody?
They had a 7:30 evaluation done by a psychiatrist, a very well-known, respected Beverly Hills psychologist that had a vitae that was about 16 pages long. And in his recommendation that my son needed this treatment, and even though I protested, they gave full custody to Dad 100%, so I had no say in the matter. And he signed off for this treatment. And I believe it cost him $40,000 just to get it going. And I believe it was a deprogramming camp of some kind, because when my son and I went to court to get custody, because he said he would rather sleep under a freeway bridge than his dad's house, we reported abuse. And when we did so, they said about giving custody to Dad instead. It's really twisted and it's hard to believe and understand. But what happened was, when they okayed for him to go to this camp without my consent, he forgot it was me that he loved and wanted to live with. And when he came back, he seemed content to live with his father's house, who he said who was hurting him.
So he left he left with one mindset, and he came back a different person. Is that what you're saying?
I do.
Did you ever have to pay for this facility that he went to?
I'm still paying, actually. What happened was, it cost $122,000 to send my child around the country for the 8th grade. He went to a camp for the first 6 weeks in Georgia. It was a military-style camp where they were going to teach him to respect his father. And from there, he was sent to a boarding school in Idaho, and it was a ranch-style boarding school, and they were supposed to use horse therapy. He wasn't there 6 weeks when they bounced him out of there, and they sent him to a stricter and much smaller school in Utah. And the cost of the first camp was $500 a day, and Dad and I were supposed to split that cost. The cost of the boarding school was $7,000 a month. And, of course, he wasn't there that long. And then the last school was $7,000 a month, and I was ordered to pay half. And I'm still, to this day, paying that amount.
Can I ask you a question? I'm sorry to cut you off.
Ahead.
Can I ask you a question? Before your child was removed, was there substantiated evidence of sexual abuse or physical abuse?
Or any abuse?
Any abuse. Was there any evidence substantiating?
Absolutely. I really had gone on my son's word, because he's a truthful person and he doesn't lie, and he was telling me how bad it was to live at his dad's house. His dad wasn't accepting him, and he was so distressed living at his dad's house that he actually cut himself with a razor blade, not once but twice. And when he had these multiple suicide attempts, they decided to step in at that point. And I have a lot of drawings that he had drawn, and I have some in his own handwriting, some of the things that were happening at the time. And all of that was not only counted, it wasn't even admitted into evidence at the courthouse. They just completely ignored what we had to say.
We want Michael to talk to you,
So
caller.
were you represented at the time the 7:30 evaluator filed their report with the court?
Basically what happened was, I went in pro per on a restraining order. I got a restraining order for my son and I, and we went back to court. It turned into a custody thing, which we weren't asking for any changes. We just wanted my son to live with me more and my daughter to remain the same. So my ex came in with a really good attorney, apparently, and they decided that a evaluation needed to be done. And I did hire an attorney, but I apparently was too late in getting any kind of legal help, because most of the damage had already been done. They assigned guardian ad litem to both of my children, and let's say between the judge and the 4 attorneys, it was like 5 against 1 every time I went to court, and I lost every time we went. It was like I couldn't get anywhere. And by the time I hired an attorney, it was almost too late, and he even told me so.
Right.
So we never really regained ground.
Right. So the sad truth is, your story is not uncommon. The 7:30 evaluators, they carry great weight with the court, and they really need to be attacked on an evidentiary basis when they go to enter their report, because They should be subject to cross-examination. The information in their report should be vetted, and you should be able to argue to the court that it's just an unacceptable piece of evidence. I'm very...
Well, what was interesting about the 730 evaluation was not only was it 320 pages, the cost that they told me was $7,000 and we'd split it in half. The cost ended up being $20,000, and we were to split it in half. And then I wasn't allowed to read it, and then they entered his recommendations on the record, and then 5 weeks after they accepted the 730 evaluation as a reason, I was finally able to sit down and read it, but it had to be in my attorney's office. I wasn't allowed to make any copies. I wasn't allowed to take it home and read it, and it actually took me 5 hours to sit there to see what was written. And there were so many lies and half-truths and exaggerations, and I had a long legal pad, and I started writing down all the things that I found to be untruthful, and it was 25 pages I wrote, 25 pages. And when I brought that to my attorney's attention, he said, I don't think you have enough money to fight that, line for line or page for page, that we should accept the document but only contest the findings. And so that was his belief that would work, and it really didn't go anywhere. And from then it was downhill slide. They gave me monitored visitation, which I had to pay for, and it was a financial ruin for me all the way around.
Caller,
and I never... Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have several callers on the line. I want you to reach out and to email us.
Please email us.
And I would like for you, if there is a way, Michael, that maybe she can bring about a civil lawsuit, maybe just discuss it, put something in writing, and, pass it on. Michael, do you have an email? We want to start getting your email out.
Sure. My email address is mjpk, so Michael Joseph Patrick Kinslow, at Kinslow-Law, KINSLOW.com.
Thank you very much,
Great.
caller.
Thank you so much, caller. We're so sorry for you. This is happening everywhere, and we need to stop it. God bless you.
Thank you. I really appreciate your listening.
Thank you. We appreciate you calling. Do we have another caller? Please, let's take in one more caller, and then we want Michael. We want to hear him.
Yes.
Caller? Hi.
Hello.
Hi, caller.
Hi, wonderful. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for the show. This is an amazing thing that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
We're so grateful to have you listening. We need to spread the word.
How can we help you today?
I'm watching you guys right now.
Oh, thank you.
I just heard the story. It's just, I wanted to call. I want to share what's going on personally with my family and with my child.
Go ahead, caller. Please tell us your story.
I left an abusive relationship of almost 5 years, very severe domestic violence. When the child that we shared was 2 years old, I decided to leave, and I fled for her life. And after leaving, there was no divorce, there was no child custody situation. It was just, everything was just, we separated. And it was not until she was almost 4 that I filed for a divorce with the court. And that was fine. I actually had more than 90% custody, and he had visitations approximately every other month, sometimes not even exercising every visitation, maybe once a month. Things didn't get bad until at almost 6 years old. At 5 years old, my daughter disclosed some things that were going on inappropriately when she saw her father. She disclosed to me the size of her father's penis. She described it. She described his erection. She went on to say that it hit her in her butt. And
what's happening now? We want to stay focused, caller, and we honor you for calling. What's happening now? The case has progressed. Has anybody stepped in to protect this child, to take notice of what's happening?
Well, I want to say that it's been 4 years since then, and Child Protective Services has been involved numerous times. There's been doctors and hospitals that reported my daughter actually contracted a sexually transmitted infection. And what is happening now is there's evidence that CPS overrode the assessment. So they should have substantiated sexual abuse. They overrode it, like the little boy Gabriel Fernandez.
We're going to talk about Gabriel in a couple of minutes. Gabriel's not forgotten. Okay. We have some things to discuss.
They did the same thing to him that they did to my child, and they overrode it. And what's happening now is my child is living with her identified abuser.
Michael,
I'm on supervised visitation, and I have to pay to see my child. And
I know this is happening across the nation. This is Michael. Do you?
So again, this is not a too uncommon story, unfortunately. And one of the things is there's a myriad of issues you presented, caller. But one of the things to understand is that you need to be represented in these hearings to the best of your ability to marshal the resources to get somebody who knows what they're doing. Because in these family courts across the country, and just inadmissible evidence is being used to vitiate a parent's rights to care for their child, and it's unacceptable. And it shouldn't be happening, and there are ways to deal with it. But typically what happens is the supportive parent ends up in a position where they're not represented, and the abuser, knowing that they're the abuser, gets himself a fairly decent lawyer, and sometimes we have minors counsel who just steamroll the reporting parent. Despite the statistics of 1 in 4 girls being abused before they're 18 and 1 in 6 boys being abused before they're 18, despite the academic research that says that the incidence of false reporting by a child is minuscule. You can find estimates from between 2 and 7%. Despite those statistics, which ought to be driving our public policy,
yes,
you find in the courtrooms it's just a steamrolling of the reporting parent. It's unacceptable, and the only way to deal with it is to get good lawyers to stand up next to you and take your side, and to just attack the evidence in these cases, because too often, much too often, evidence is not what's used. Admissible evidence isn't what used to make these decisions, but they're just made on, who had the bigger biceps that morning.
And that absolutely happened. It absolutely happened frequently.
And it's happening across the country, caller. We encourage you, please, just so that we want to get through this show and be able to take other callers. And we also want to get Michael Kinslow the opportunity that we know that the parents need, that the listeners need to hear. We need to be educated, public. We need to know what's going on. Can you please email us? John is going to put our email out, and email us, and please reach out to Michael. We are encouraging our listeners today to please reach out to him. He is a trusted attorney. We know that not all attorneys are trusted. We're not pointing fingers, but we do know that there are trusted attorneys who will fight for the safety and welfare of the child, and Michael is one of them.
And we only
and
bring.
How can I find this information?
John is going to put it up on the chat room right now. We don't know if you're on the chat room. If you're,
I'm watching your video right now.
Okay. Have you clicked onto the chat room to interact on the chat room?
No, but I'm sure I can find that. Is that on the same page with the video?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. All right.
So you can interact. Please do that. We encourage you. And John is going to put it up. And please reach out to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, caller. And we're so sorry.
And listeners, we also want you to know, we bring on our show reputable people on our show. We don't just bring on anyone.
That's right.
Reputable attorneys, reputable physicians, psychologists will be on our show. And, there aren't too many attorneys in the state of California. There's only 5, really. Correct?
Yes.
5 attorneys. 5. So
that are taking on the civil litigation cases against these entities that are not doing the right thing.
Right. And so we want to make sure that you guys give Michael a call if you are in dire need, which a lot of these families and mothers and fathers are.
Dire need. Michael, you haven't even finished telling us all of your expertise, and we really want to hear about it because this is so important to build a trust with the listeners.
Sure. So basically my practice for the last 8 years has been devoted to representing survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and primarily those who have been abused by people in positions of authority within youth-serving organizations. So think camps, schools, churches, and other youth-serving organizations. And it's been great work. I mean, I never thought that this was where I would end up, but it's just been great work. And I said it earlier, and I'll say it again, watching someone grow from a victim to survivor is one of the best experiences and rewards you can ever have, whether you're in a helping profession of a mental health professional or as an attorney.
We agree with you.
You know, I wanted to get your take, which I wrote down a few questions, but
Sure.
like literally in today's society, why do you think we have private and public institutions that continue to usurp authority? And I mean, you really think about it, we're in 2013. You know, you look at the Catholicism issue in the 1960s and even till now, and they continue to usurp authority. So what's your take on that? I really want to get your thoughts, because obviously, you know, I have my views, and, you know, our listeners, they call in every week, and I'm always talking about this, but hearing it from an attorney, you fight this every day. How hard is it to go up against such a powerful institution?
Well, let's talk about the Catholic Church for a minute, because you were involved in a case that was major regarding sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. Tell us a little bit about that. And
Okay, so let's take Priscilla's question first, because it's part of what I try and just the message I try to advance. So what's going on? Why do these things happen? I think is your question, right? Even today, why?
Even today, why?
So what we need is individual conversions to courage, and that's the easiest way to explain it. You have to be able to turn in your best friend down the hallway. You have to be able to say, my brother in spirit is raising concerns, and you know, higher authority, you need to look at this, because it's beyond my scope to handle it. That's a lot of language, but in the end, it is individual conversions to courage. One of the things I told you about 2 institutions in my life. The other institution was Penn State football. Growing up in the Northeast in Pennsylvania, and when you look at that situation there, you had the most powerful man on campus, the man who, you know, many of us thought could do just about anything within the state, move any movement, lead any movement, do anything. And what he needed was an individual conversion to courage to say, my long-term best friend or my long-term good friend is doing things that raise concern. And until you get to a place where someone is talented and is formed and as capable as Joe Paterno can pick up the phone and make a meaningful complaint about his best colleague, things are not going to change. So how do you get things to change? Civil lawsuits is one way. When there is an exchange of resources to help the victim to heal, it does put the sponsoring institution in a position of feeling what happened. Then Tammy asked me about the Roman Catholic Church. I represented hundreds of survivors within the Roman Catholic Church. It's my own denomination. How hard is it? It's not very difficult from an emotional perspective to go forward, because you see what's happened. You have a organization or collection of corporations across the country that will admit in its public relations efforts that it was at fault. One of the great things you can find is a speech by Bishop Wilton Gregory. It's called Catholic Contrition Resolve. It's in relationship to childhood sexual abuse. And he will say, we bishops, we are the ones who did these things. We are the ones who didn't report. We are the ones who didn't treat these abused people and their families as brothers and sisters, as suffering members of our church, but rather as adversaries, right? So you have that. So it's not hard to pick it up. Now, that's what they'll say in their public relations material, but what will they do in a courtroom is fight you inch by inch, but you're not alone. I mean, no survivor needs to stand alone, and if you've been sexually abused by someone in a position of authority, you need to speak up, and you need to find your way to someone who's experienced in this area and figure out if you have a claim to bring, because it is an empowering experience. People typically think, oh, it's going to be difficult, and it is, but it is empowering when you get the ability to confront those responsible to the harm that was inflicted upon you as a child and is causing you problems as an adult. And it does. It's unavoidable. It causes you problems as an adult. When you put yourself in that position to be able to confront those people and give voice to your pain and voice to your experience, it is an empowering, cathartic experience for you.
Wow.
And we're not going, I just want to set the record straight. This is not to go against any religious entity,
No.
but more to point out that in many religious entities, there is this type of cloaked perversion going on, and it is covered up.
Right. So the Roman Catholic Church sort of was the focus of interest for a number of years. But frankly, any youth-serving organization of any dimension is going to have this problem. And the problem is that in society, we didn't put the child first. We didn't have those individual conversions.
And we still don't.
Right.
And we still don't.
Right. And so what happened was people worried more about the reputation of the organization than the safety of the children. And until you can flip that dynamic and make it that, okay, you cared about the safety of these kids, so ergo your reputation increases. Until we sort of change that incentive, and the only way to do that is through litigation, is my opinion. The only way is the pocketbook, because that's really the only thing they understand. Because why protect your reputation? Because when it comes to weekly, monthly, annual giving, my reputation's important. The organization, that is. But it is not limited to the Roman Catholic Church. Within religions, you have all denominations. I think I've worked in cases against each major denomination that's out there, and then certainly youth-serving organizations generally.
Such as? Tell us.
We've had Boy Scout cases.
Boy Scout cases. That was a big case that you guys handled, wasn't it?
Well, we big cases. They're all big cases.
Yeah,
they
are all big cases.
They're all important to the survivor.
They're all important.
Then the denominations, Baptist, Presbyterian, I mean, just go down the list and you're going to find these problems because at its heart, we put the reputation of the organization before the safety of the children, and people in leadership were going to have to turn in their friends, and they didn't have the courage to do that. So until we get the individual conversions to courage, it's not going to happen.
That's right. We have a caller. Can we call her? Hi, caller, are you on?
Hello, yes.
Hi, how are you? What is your name?
My name is Daniel Lucian.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, Daniel. How are you? Thanks for calling.
I'm doing great.
Talk to us. What's on your mind?
Oh, wait. I'm trying to get on with Tammy.
Yeah. That's okay. You are on with Tammy, and this is Tammy. I hope that you're trying to get on with the National Safe Child Show. And I hope that you're listening to the wonderful things and information that's being presented today. And what would you like to add today, caller?
Well, the thing is I'm listening, and the stories just kill me, and I'm a victim of
I'm sorry.
My daughter being kidnapped. But it's not so much to me that's important. As I'm listening, he brought up the point that the only way we can change things is through federal civil litigation. And there's a big problem, like they said, because that's constitutional law, and it's not very widespread across the country. It's scholastic law. Only the finest attorneys stand a chance in them. And as they mentioned, there was 5 in the state of California, and in Massachusetts, the closest one's in New York. Now, as citizens of the United States, and we're going through this, my daughter's kidnapped. The man you're talking to speaking has been put in prison for 20 years, according to a hidden drug court, snatched my daughter.
Oh my God.
So that's the extent of my victimization. But that's not important.
That's very important, though. It's fair. How old is your child?
My daughter was 4 when this started, and
how old is she now? She's going to be 8.
8.
We're so sorry.
August 22nd at 9:05 p.m.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
My God, this is happening.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'm in the middle of. I'm serious. I'm not here to cry about my story.
Right.
I'm here to let people know that I am a victim.
You're an angry victim now.
I am on Facebook. I am on Facebook under the name of Daniel Lucian St. Germain. And he was right when he said there's only one way to change the law, and that's by filing federal lawsuits. Under my name on Facebook, anybody can come to me. I am not a licensed lawyer, but we have a right as citizens on the bounds and cases spurning thereof out of 1976, Bounds versus Smith at the Supreme Court, to assist each other.
That's
to
right.
help each other along in filing.
You're right.
So what I'm doing is this, is I have a 3-pronged move based on the civil rights movement with the NAACP, Martin Luther King, how they combined marches.
Yes.
What they did back then is what I'm copying today. I'm making them Wendy's out of a McDonald's. I'm just copying what's been done. The NAACP, when Martha Parks was on the bus, had a lawsuit filed the very next morning after she was arrested. That night, there was marches and demonstrations and boycotting the buses being had. The next morning, they executed them all at the same time. By filing that federal lawsuit, it gave them in the future from being attacked a way to go for emergency filings and injunctions to stop being harassed at demonstrations and marches and pickets. Our people are forming and actually going to meetings. I'm working with a few people out of California, like Laurie Bryan Tracy. She's organizing marches, pickets, bring people these blue ribbon meetings or whatever they got going out there.
Okay.
And I also have a Catherine Rosas. She's handling the Midwest, and I'm handling the East Coast. And we are gathering people. And this is what I'm posting on Facebook, and I'll read it verbatim. My plan is coming together in a big group of victims of stolen children. Here is my pitch that is gathering the flock. There's only one way we can effectuate change and bring national attention to these criminal enterprises and neglect. It is to simultaneously file federal civil actions across the country in virtually every federal jurisdiction. This is how the days of the civil rights of Martin Luther King got the protection and the change that was needed. Everybody, make a video as short as you can. Refer to my videos as Charmaine's Nightmare 1 and 2. It's 14 minutes long.
Okay, wait a minute. Tell us.
Go in a chronological order and tell your story.
Okay, tell us the name. Wait a minute. Let me stop you for a moment, just so that the callers are able to know where to go. Can you spell that out? Charmaine's. Is it with an S or a C?
It's Charmaine with a C.
Spell it out for us. CHA.
MAINS.
MAINS. Video on YouTube.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not my story that's important. It's the way I lay it out in chronological order, telling my story with dates and times with no introduction.
So this will help other people to have some type of a model for how to then show their story. So this is wonderful. Michael, what do you have to add to this?
And what it is I have mine on YouTube. And if they place theirs on YouTube, please do not share them to plan, to execute.
Right.
But they will send them to me in private message, and I will view them. And based on the facts of their case with names, dates, and times, I will structure a lawsuit in form that they are not supposed to file, but I will find all their torts, all their claims that violate silence of conspiracy codes under 1985 or 42 USC. I will be filing all these in individual cases. I'm looking for individuals that are credible with solid stories. I will check them out. I'm looking for at least 20 to cover the jurisdictions across the country.
Okay.
Everybody placed their story on YouTube anyway.
Right, I got you. Michael, what I would like for you to do is I want you to email us, please. Yeah. John has posted. Are you on the chat room?
Yes, I'm on the chat room.
John has posted the way to email us. Can you email us all of the information, and then we will put it out for you? Just because our time is limited, we want to make sure that the callers get everything, but we can put this out for you in writing via
havenlybluepriscilla@gmail.com, and that way we can also relate this to all of our listeners and spread it all over social media, because I think that you did touch an important part, which is the civil lawsuits. Tammy and I have always talked about this, and these people who commit crimes against children, you're not going to get them at their heart because they don't have a heart. So you have to get them where it hurts. And their pocket. Like Michael said, their pocket.
Yes.
And so that's what we need. We need civil action. We need civil lawsuits nationwide.
But it needs to be done right.
That's exactly right. You're absolutely right. It needs to be done right.
Everybody holds them.
Right.
Exactly.
And in the next election cycle, the next midterm elections, when a new incumbency comes, when new people are coming in looking for seats, we're going to email all of these. We're going to file it in one morning. We're going to email.
All right. Let's not tell all the plan. Let's not tell all the plan over the air, Daniel, because the bottom line is it's always good to be strategic. We thank you for calling us.
At the same time, all the videos will be shared that day. That's why they're holding them.
Gotcha.
They'll be shared and they'll go viral. We'll share and
we definitely want to hear more about this. Michael, there is nothing to add to this.
No, God bless you, brother.
Yeah, God bless you is right. And
thank you very much.
We're sorry that this happened, and I know you weren't calling for sympathy, but We're glad
Thank
that
you.
we're glad that your
I'm gonna
child
let you
is
go.
safe. Okay, thank you, Daniel, for
And please
calling.
follow us
Appreciate
next
it. And
Wednesday.
Good luck to everybody out there, and God is with you, and we will get our children back because my daughter's going to get them all back for you.
All right,
Gotta see you
that's
on
what we
Good Morning
need.
America. She's
Thank
gonna
you.
fix this system.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Make sure you stay in touch. Wow, there's so much out there, Michael.
There's so much emotion and so much anger, and I think that we've never seen so much momentum in child advocacy like we have now.
Yeah.
And we, Tammy and I work very hard, just like all the 5 attorneys that are on board here in California,
Michael included.
and we want to take this all the way. We want to further the movement. That's why we have this show.
That's right.
And so we want to extend the invitation to all of our listeners and to all my survivors. I always reach out to my survivors because those of you who follow the show know that I am a child abuse survivor. And so I always reach out to my survivors to vocalize, to be active. And for children, especially if you're in your teens and you're listening to me right now, I know that today may not be a great day, but there's always tomorrow. And we fight for you every day, and you need to know that. So tomorrow will be much better. And the more people we get on board, the more support we get, you will come home.
So Priscilla uses the vocabulary of survivor, which is just absolutely great. It's one of the first things I try and do when someone comes to me and talks about what they've been through, or even public policy people or people who are trying to help. You try to adopt the vocabulary of a survivor rather than victim, rather than this casualty approach. You try to empower people, and just the use of the word survivor is so important because your words become your thoughts, your thoughts become your actions, and
That's
it's
right.
just so darn important for people to realize you don't have to be a victim. You don't
That's
have to
right.
be somebody who's just suffering in silence. There's people in this world who care about you,
That's
and
right.
there's people who have the talents and the ability to address your needs, and you can be a survivor.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And the people that are taking a stand, they are on their way to being a survivor, or they've already reached that point.
Right.
We say, a friend of Priscilla's and a nice acquaintance of mine says, to the domestic violence survivors, you were beaten, but you have not been beat. And there is a difference. And we need people to know that. So let's get back to, there's a couple of issues that we want to touch on.
All right.
This SB 131, Michael, tell us what's happening. It's in the appropriations right now.
Right.
What's going on? I know you don't have up to date, but tell us.
So in California, we have a fairly generous childhood sexual abuse statute. You have an absolute right till the age of 26 to bring a complaint. And then you have until 3 years from when you make the connection between what happened to you as a child and problems you're having as an adult. So that's a thumbnail as to what our statute of limitations is. Unfortunately, the way the law was written and the way it's been interpreted by our state Supreme Court, there was no retroactive application of the statute. So for people who were born after January 1, 1977, didn't get that extended statute of limitations. So 131, which unfortunately appears to have failed in committee today, though I'm not certain about that.
6-4.
6-4 appears to have been the vote, which is awfully close. So let me tell you about what's afoot there. All right. So the Roman Catholic Church in California decided to get out in front of this bill and stop older survivors from being able to bring claims. And what they did was they advanced certain arguments, such as this would close their schools. It's a falsity. It's a falsity, and they ought to know that in the core of their hearts that that's a falsity. Providing justice to someone does not bankrupt an organization.
That's right.
The Roman Catholic Church here in California, one of its major corporations is the Diocese of San Diego, which handful of years ago, entered bankruptcy in an attempt to avoid paying claims for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And let me set up this story a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time. But we had been in litigation for a number of years against the Diocese of San Diego. And it looked like there was a possibility that the cases could work out. It looked like there was a way that survivors could get to justice. But rather than doing that, the diocese ran to bankruptcy protection. And in the first day of bankruptcy court, the judge sat up and looked into the audience and told us about the good works of the church and how these claims, my words, these claims, are not going to get in the way of the good works of the church. She's going to protect the church as the good works of. All right? So, being someone who had been involved with that litigation for a number of years, it was disheartening. Well, what happened? Well, the church acted like the church. It acted like the corporation it is. And understand that. I'm not talking about the good sisters and brothers and priests in the church, or your aunt or your uncle. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about a corporation run by a discrete number of men in the state, or a set of corporations. So we were sitting there, and what happened was, well, it acted like itself, and acted like a corporation. It was found to be hiding money, or not having told the bankruptcy court about a number of accounts that it had. And fortunately, just by luck, a vice president of a local bank contacted the court and said, what am I supposed to do with this money? They're changing accounts, and what am I supposed to do?
Wow.
And so
that's the blessing
Right.
from God in
Right.
church.
And so ultimately that bankruptcy was dismissed. And on the last day of that bankruptcy, the judge from the bench, the same judge who had told us her concern about the good works of the church and how this might hurt it, told the church how that morning she had looked up the word disingenuous in the dictionary, because that's what she felt the bankruptcy was.
Yes.
And she said, you always had the money to pay these claims. And she made that statement in terms of a warning to other dioceses across the country who might try and say, survivors are going to bankrupt us. Well, no, your conduct is bankrupting that survivor's life, and your conduct is bankrupting the public coffers, which pay for the services to a survivor while you run off and hide and hope that the passage of time will relieve you from liability of any claim. So here we have people who will say, we are the ones, we did it, that's right, in their public relations materials. Again, Bishop Wilton Gregory, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, 2002 speech, his presidential address, will tell you, we're the ones, we did it, we're sorry. But when it comes to accountability, do not look our way. Do not try and hold us accountable publicly in the court system, where there would be a weighing of evidence as to what we did. Let's beat these people back. Let's not let them have their day in court. Let's just, because one day followed another. That's it. Because one day followed another, and the years added up. Somebody doesn't have a right to the healing and compensation that justice would require they have.
Justice, that word is becoming so
Right.
convoluted these days. It almost doesn't mean what it is. We just got some information, and we want to share this for a moment because this is important. The SB 131, I wish I could enlarge my screen, but it is important. So members, call the ASM appropriations. Members call the cell phone office home town, I can't even say this, Amiano, 916-319-2017. San Francisco, call Atkins, 916-319-2078. San Diego, call Gordon, 916-319-2024. Los Altos, Mitchell, 916-319-2054. Everything, all of these numbers I'm giving you are on the chat room. We are encouraging you. This is important. Jim Beal pushed to get this SB 131 out. Jim Beal has been really on our side in so many ways to protect children. And we honor you, Jim Beal, and we know all that you've done. And we're so grateful for the work that you've done. Go ahead, Michael.
So Senator Beal is a man's man and a champion's champion.
Yes.
There's no doubt about
Yes.
it. This is a man whose work has the interests of children and survivors of abuse
Yes.
first and foremost.
First.
And if you take a look at his record, he's the one guy up in Sacramento on the cutting edge of trying to advance the interests of children who have no other voice but his on the floor of the state Senate. And
it's disgusting that Michael says that with surety, because that's the fact of the matter. And we are calling other senators and other politicians to sign up with this courageous man, because you're looking like cowards right now. Is it corporations first, or is it children first?
That's right. And you know, that's, they say in life, like, look for your 30-second elevator speech,
yes.
right? Or what's your key phrase? Well, what is it? Is it the corporations or is it the kids?
Yeah.
I mean, and it really is that simple in the end. And this rush away from accountability, this idea that children who have been abused don't get their day in court as adults because the abuser was so effective as to keep that child silent and as to keep that adult in the dark, that they were so effective that one day followed another. And once they became strong, once they found their way to somebody who could help them, then they come forward, and then you just stand there and say, too late, so sad, so bad. That's wrong.
Yeah,
that is
wrong.
We've had enough. I just want to make one thing known, Michael. Senator Beal has just agreed to come on to the National Safe Child Show.
Oh.
We are excited. Thank you, Senator Beal. We honor you.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, you're only an hour show. I don't think you can hold everything that guy has in his mind.
We're gonna pay for more time. We're gonna try to see what we can do because he is our hero, and we need more people. And you know what? We're gonna set something up where we actually get people.
We need more good guys.
We're gonna call people out when Senator Beal comes, and we want to hear live on the air what they have to say and why they haven't joined. What is their excuse? I'm sorry, Michael, for interrupting.
No.
It's very exciting.
Listen,
it's very exciting for us.
There are so many discreet individuals in this movement towards child safety, and there are just some who are positioned to do more in the public policy and legislative arena. And until we collect more Beals, you're not going to see the statutory changes you need. And he's just a great human being. He's a great advocate for kids in the foster care system. He's a great advocate for survivors of childhood sexual abuse, and he is a great advocate for the safe children movement. One of the things your listeners might be interested in is in the past he's actually tried to sort of level the playing field for the protective parent and sort of put them in equal footing and be able to challenge the 730 evaluators and people who bring in hearsay, non-admissible evidence, and just beat down that protective parent. And Beal in the past has offered legislation to address that situation, and he's been defeated. He's not going to give up. There's no quitting that guy. And I suspect, hopefully, the survivors of childhood sexual abuse, he's not going to give up on them either. Let me say one thing. Even though there may have been a defeat in our appropriations committee in our state assembly today, if you have a claim, if you've been abused, you ought to find an attorney, because there are legal arguments around application of the statute of limitations. They're technical legal arguments. So you shouldn't think that the fight's over. You shouldn't think the day is lost just because the church and a few other corporations were able to influence some lawmakers and keep it that just because of the mere fact one day followed another and your abuser was successful in keeping you quiet, that you don't get your day in court. So get a hold of somebody who does this kind of work. And talk to them, tell them all your facts, be courageous, tell them everything that's on your mind about what happened to you as a kid and the circumstances under which it occurred, and there may be a way around that statute of limitations.
Also, we need, I'm sorry, Priscilla.
Oh, no, it's okay.
We need voters in California to call their representatives to get the SB 131 passed. It's been rejected, but we have 1 week to change that. And if every voter in California cares that justice is served or not, that children that were hurt severely, and make no mistake, we all have the statistics about the lifespan of abuse when a child is abused.
Exactly.
And one thing, just not so much inside baseball, but the Beal was supported in this effort by Senator Lara, who was the leader of the Latino caucus.
Yes.
So he wasn't standing alone. There are other areas of influence. I really, sitting here right now, can't tell you what the landscape looks like for the next week. Right. But this is an issue that's not going to end. I can't imagine Beal's going to let it die over time.
No, and we'll keep talking about it as well to make sure that we voice people to get involved.
Yeah, and you know what? Baseball and landscape, and I want to say we are the gardeners.
Exactly.
We are the gardeners, folks. If everybody picked up the phone, everybody has time for Facebook, everybody has time for pedicures. Pick up the phone, spend 5 or 10 minutes, and make a difference with these children. It could be your children. Maybe it has been your child. Make a difference. They deserve the justice that was stolen from them when they were a child and their voices weren't heard. They're having the courage.
And you said something, your key word that you said right now, which Tammy and I always talk about, is hope.
Yes.
There is hope. There will
hope.
be change. And one day we will live in a society where children will just be children.
So one thing, and it's not It's not anything that's small. If you are a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, get yourself a civil attorney. Talk about what happened to you, but make a police report. All right. And in this state, we have a victims' compensation fund, and have that lawyer help you file a claim with the victims' compensation fund. It may require you to make a report to the police, but do that and try and marshal the resources to get some therapy, to get some counseling, to continue on your road to healing. All is not lost simply because one day followed another and your abuser was successful in keeping you quiet.
And let's not forget that an abuser, that person who came forward, who had the courage, they were not the only victim. It is typical. Statistics show that an abuser abuses between 100 and 142 children in their lifetime.
That's one abuser.
That's one abuser
person
has taken between 100 and 142 children that they have victimized. And here is this one child, child who has aged out, possibly, who's become an adult and who has come forth. And then we have a system that once again shoots them down and says, no, you're not entitled to justice, because like Michael said, and that's going to be something that I take on now, one day past another. Exactly. Shame on society if they follow that. Shame on the people of this nation if they think that that's okay. It's not.
So, and you think, I'm sorry, go ahead, Michael.
No, I don't want to hijack your show.
No, it's your
hijack,
show.
So,
I'm sorry.
So if you're a survivor, like, what does it matter if you come forward? Well, it matters a great deal because as Tammy says, typically abusers don't have just one victim who becomes a survivor. I have done cases where the abuser will admit to abusing 5 to 6 children a year for 20 years, and as we investigated the case, I tell you, it was probably an underreporting. But what happens, right? So you come forward, you become visible. What you do is you give strength to someone else who's sitting in the dark. So you're in the gray area, or maybe you're in the light, and you're able to come forward and give your story. Well, there's somebody in the dark. Well, there's probably 20 somebodies in the dark who are empowered by hearing you. Because gosh darn it, at that moment, somebody knows what I went through. Somebody is connected to what I went through, and that is so empowering for these survivors. And, you know, I'm a lawyer. I'm not a mental health professional, but I can tell you my observations from watching people who have come to me after they finally heard that first person, or being that first person. What an event that is, being that first person, and then the change in your heart and mind when others come forward and your story becomes validated. So there's sort of these interconnected validations that are so empowering for people, and it is worth the effort to come forward, make your record, get yourself some help. Use the Victim Services Fund here in California to get yourself the therapy you need, and figure out a way to hold your abuser and those who are responsible for him accountable, him or her accountable. That's wrong to say him alone.
That's right.
And then you realize as a survivor that you're not alone. You've never been alone.
Right.
And you know,
even though you
feel alone, but then when you come forward and you start speaking, you realize, oh my God, I was never alone. Because, you know, I talk to people my age who have survived, and I'm just like, oh my God, you know, we were the same age when the same things were happening to us. And so I really, really support all my survivors and those who are still living in the dark. I really, really recommend you come forward and be a voice for other children.
Yes.
Amen.
I have nothing to add to that.
Yes.
Amen.
That's right. So Priscilla, how old are you now? If you can tell me.
We don't talk about
No.
that.
In a general sense, and don't tell me your age.
Between 20 and 22.
Right. So
19.
No. There are ages when people come forward. The reason it's sort of material, because the younger you can talk to people, the better.
Right.
Typically, someone has to, believe it or not, develop some carnage in their life before they give report as to what happened, or before they make the connection. It's a very trying time, but it typically takes some maturity in life. And I'm talking about somebody 35, 40, 50 years old, and you're nowhere near that, who can marshal the concept of how they survive. Let me tell you one case I worked on, and not going to give you her name or the denomination, but it was a woman who had been abused at a private school, and essentially she was abused by the assistant headmaster at this private school. And the other faculty members made their homes available to this guy to have his trysts with this young girl.
Oh my God.
And it took this woman until she was in the senior levels of a denomination. and going to a childhood sexual abuse training to say, that's what happened to me. Finally, I have a name for what occurred to me, and I can understand the facts. And I'm talking someone who was closer to retirement than the dawn of their career. And it takes a complicated level of understanding of what you've been through, the problems you're experiencing, and making that connection. And so understanding that dynamic is difficult, that it takes maturity, that it takes life experience for all that to come together. It is egregious that only because one day follows another and the abuser was successful in silencing the child, that they escape liability under the statute of limitations.
I honor Michael. Michael is a trial attorney, by the way, folks, in case anybody didn't know that. He's a trial attorney.
They're going to stop listening now.
No.
He and I have known each other for quite some time, and I've had a great opportunity to understand where he's coming from. An honest attorney, if such two words can often be put in the same sentence, and somebody who really believes in what he's fighting for. I just want to say something. We're limited with time now. We're running out of time.
Oh my God.
We have 5 minutes left. So, SB 145, Child Porn Bill. It passed California. It passed today. California has the weakest laws in the area of child abuse, but yet today this bill passed. So this is a great victory. Getting more accountability, increases penalties for the worst offenders of child porn possession. It's shocking that California has the worst laws in the nation regarding child pornography when we live in such a movie industry state.
Well, that says a lot, because that means that we also probably have the number one pedophilia. Because we do have many organizations, including the Hollywood industry, which has their own, issues as well in with child abuse.
Yeah.
So
we have to support SB 145. It's the very least that we can do to safeguard our children against the sexual exploitations. I want to talk for a moment about Gabriel Fernandez, the 8-year-old boy that we're following, that we're passionate about, that we love you, little Gabriel. He's not here. He was murdered by his mom and stepfather. He was tortured. Yesterday, Priscilla brutally tortured. Yesterday, Priscilla and I went to the arraignment. Priscilla, do you want to?
Well, we went to the arraignment, and there were many family members there, from the mother's side. And what I got from the arraignment, we now have to go to another date, which is October 7th.
Yeah.
But
been continued again.
Right, it's been continued again
several
since
times.
May.
Several times.
And so what I got from it, it's, you heard the attorney. The attorney for Pearl, correct?
Yes.
Didn't have all his information. We couldn't move forward. That's why they moved it to a different date. And then you have a judge that gave him public records, correct?
Yep, public records
because the attorney didn't have the records.
The squabbling over discovery. Okay, so the squabbling over discovery, it's awful. The bottom line is we need momentum. The Washington Times is covering this.
And we want more people out there. So Monday, October 7th is the next arraignment date, and we will be there. I'm sure that Gabriel's Justice will probably also be there, and we want more supporters. We need more bodies out there, so that way people, they know, the judicial system knows that we are watching this case.
Yes, Gabriel's Justice will be served, because there are hundreds, thousands of Gabriels out there, and Gabriel is the face for this movement, and we will always honor him. Michael, we have about 2 minutes left or so. We want to
thank you. Thank you so much. And we're truly grateful.
We need to have you back on.
Yes,
because
it wasn't enough.
No, it's not enough.
Right, we didn't really get to talk much.
So one, this network, absolutely amazing. And if you get a chance, listeners, just go to its website and look at all the different shows. You can be an empowered person just from plugging into this network.
Yes.
And then to Tammy and Priscilla, you just blessings. I just pray for you. I pray for your work.
Oh, thank you.
Because you are going to make a change, and it is step by step, brick by brick, however,
that's right.
Whatever you want to use it, and small momentum is possible. Today, not a great day in the California Assembly Appropriations Committee, but please don't lose hope. if you're a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, find yourself to an attorney who can help you, and get a police report made, and see if you can't find your way to California's Victims Assistance Fund to get yourself some counseling. And thank you both for
Michael,
having me here today.
Thank you for being here, Michael. Can you say, are you comfortable to say your phone number over the air? And
sure.
We can also post it. Go ahead.
Sure. So my number 949-282-9494, and call me anytime. If I don't answer, once I see it blinking, I'll call back.
949-284.
No, 949-282-9494.
Okay, that's important. Michael's handling civil litigation. We honor you, listeners, for joining. The show is archived. If you didn't get a chance to listen, we honor Ann and Tony and John.
And don't forget our dedication.
Yes,
so
go
today
ahead.
we are dedicating this show to Jeanette Marie Maples out of Oregon, who was brutally murdered by her mother as well. So we dedicate this to Jeanette Marie Maples.
Yes.
And we love you.
Yes, we love you. Thank you. Thank you so much, listeners. We'll see you next week. We have an awesome guest. We'll let you know who. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Thank you, UBN.
Yes, thank you, UBN.
Thank you for listening to the National Safe Child Show on UBN Radio. For past episodes, visit the archives on ubnradio.com. And for more information, go to nationalsafechildcoalition.com. The views and opinions expressed in these radio programs are those of the individual hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of Universal Broadcasting Network.
If you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy, nothing else would matter in the world today. We would go on loving in the same old way, a garden of Eden just made for two, with nothing to mar our joy. I would say such wonderful things to you. There would be such wonderful things to do if you were the only girl in the world, and I were the only boy. Such wonderful things to you. There would be such wonderful things to do if you